Okay, I've got 6-7 minutes to introduce the Baltic Deal project, a little bit of its history, the issue, and the main groups of stakeholders that are concerned about the Baltic Deal. So, as Ulf mentioned, we were among the first flagship project starting up in 2009. Welcome, new visitors here. The whole idea came actually from 5 of the farmer organizations around the Baltic Sea. There are something like 2 million farmers around the Baltic Sea. Most of these farmers are organized and members of farmer federations, and 2 from Finland, 1 from Sweden, 1 from Denmark, 1 from Germany, and with support from farmer organizations from the 3 Baltic states, proposed this project when the strategy developed. When the project first started, 2 of these farmer organizations continued to be operational partners, the Finnish and the Swedish. And then we took on board 5 advisory organizations, of which Erika is representing 1. So it's very much an initiative coming from the private sector, but we engaged very early on, representatives also from the knowledge and advisory sector that is in some countries are private, in other countries are public. Thank you. So what's the issue at stake here? What's the whole thing about? I tried to summarize the issue here in 4 slides, and they are quite complicated to maybe understand directly. But if you start up in the upper left corner, you see a map featuring the Baltic Sea, and you see, not so good from this side, but maybe better from the front, you see some yellow, you see some red colors, signifying the state of eutrophication of the Baltic Sea. I guess all of you are aware that the Baltic Sea have serious problems with eutrophication. Most of you also know that agriculture has a role to play in this. Not so many of you maybe know that the main source of the nutrients to the Baltic Sea today is actually coming from the Baltic Sea itself, from the bottom sediments. But looking at the sources on land, agriculture sector is the dominant sector. And that's the reason why the farmer organization proposed this project. We saw that society had great expectations and requirements upon the agriculture sector, and the farmer organizations wanted to demonstrate some proactivity in this direction, and came up with this idea for Baltic Deal. If you want to complicate the matter a little bit, we don't have much time, but I would like to show this slide here at the very bottom, where this green line is showing the total loads of phosphorus to the Baltic Sea. I mean, we're talking about phosphorus, we're talking about nitrogen. This is showing phosphorus, and if you look closely, you will see that there was a very rapid increase in the loads up to around 1980-85. But since then, it has actually gone down equally rapid down. So the progress has been done, and this is not only related to agriculture sector. This is just as much a consequence of the sewage treatment plants. In the 50s, 60s, they were of poor quality, mechanical treatment, but so this is a combined effect of food production and food consumption and what is coming out of that, so to speak. If you look at the black line, I'm a bit scientific here, but let me show you also this black line. It's an indicator of the eutrophication. It's showing the total algae biomass in the Baltic Sea. There was no response actually until around the same time when the loads peaked. Then we have seen an increase in the summer algae biomass in the Baltic Sea. So this decrease in the load since 1980 has not yet been met with the response for the actual eutrophication indicator. But as I said, the farm organizations wanted to do something good and came up with this project proposal that was about putting best agriculture practices into use. We knew that there were potential for improvement in most countries. Some countries had been working quite a lot, others less. But anyhow, in all countries there were potential for improvements, and we also realized that there was a considerable improvement potential in actually collaborating transnationally, because some countries had put a lot of emphasis on nitrogen, other countries had put a lot of emphasis on phosphorus, and both these nutrients are important to lower the loads to the Baltic Sea. So in this process, we started to identify who are the main groups of actors that we need to deal with during this project time. And this was not only, I mean, in terms of execution of the project, but not at least in terms of with whom do we communicate here. And in this slide, I've tried to aggregate or group some of the main actors that we very early on identified as key groups of actors. The project was about farmers, it was about advisors, so these two categories have a particular color in this scheme here. The agriculture doers, I call them, but they're also surrounded by other agri-environmental projects like the Baltic Compass project, the Baltic Manure project. We worked a lot. And in general, the agriculture knowledge community supporting very often the advisory services, agriculture universities, agriculture research institutes. We have the processors that we need to communicate with and to, being, I mean, the various directorates in Brussels, Regio and DG Agri in particular, but also the priority area coordinators and INTERACT in Turku, to mention a few examples of those. So these are very different categories to communicate with. So that was quite important for us, that the substance of the project should be communicated to farmers in farmers' language. When talking to Ulf, he doesn't understand farmer language, so he needs a different type of language. We also had the funders that are quite important in this project. We had the Baltic Sea Region program, which was the main funder, but there were also other funding sources that we need to communicate and also to present and package information throughout the project. Additionally, I mean, given the significance of the agriculture sector in the loads to the Baltic Sea, there is a lot of interest from the marine community. So also we somehow had to handle a large group of people working specifically on the Baltic Sea, ranging from the HELCOM, which you have heard a lot about today, down to scientists. And well, during the lifetime of this project, we had workshops with scientists, marine scientists, and then we all the time have to reshape and reformulate in ways that make sense to these other communities. And the same is valid for the national level, where we have essentially the same group of organization, but then we have to present material not in English, which is standard when meeting international. We have to try to make as much as possible available also in national languages. And this is in particular important for anything we want to do when it concerns reaching farmers. Very few of the farmers around the Baltic Sea are proficient in English, so most of the partners, I think almost all of them, have had also national language material available. So.